To confront such weaponization and religious persecution, today I'm signing an executive order to make our Attorney General, who's a great person, she's going to be a great Attorney General, Pam Bondi, the head of a task force, brand new, to eradicate anti-Christian bias. About time, right? Anti-Christian bias. Yeah, you never heard of that one before, right? But it's about time, isn't it, though, really?
We have reached a moment in time where apathy tends to be the general sentiment from the majority of people on the internet. Elections have been lost, idiots have been sworn into office, and frankly, there's really little reason to be optimistic about the state of the nation, economy, or the culture going forward for at least the next few years. And I know that sounds like something a total pessimist would say, but even just over the past couple of weeks, we've seen so much bullshit coming from so many places that it's hard to feel much in the way of optimism about the general sentiment of online discourse, especially in online spaces like this one. But as someone who works as a pastor in this social climate and with the same set of laws and regulations to grapple with as the rest of you, I am getting to the point where I need to constantly remind myself, and maybe also remind some of you, of something pretty significant. Christianity is a religion that advocates for justice. Now, the problem with saying that is that there are certain types of losers online that will take that word justice and then use it to claim that I'm some sort of social justice warrior. And well, I guess it depends on what you mean when you say that. Throughout the stories of God in Scripture, we read about all kinds of moments of justice from the perspective of God's followers. For instance, we read in the prophets, and specifically in the book of Amos, about how God has seen the injustices of the neighbors of Judah and will judge them for all of their failures. But, first and foremost, delivers the most harsh words of correction for the people of Judah themselves, who have mistakenly thought that they were righteous, unlike their neighbors. The theme of the book of Amos is found in just the first 2 chapters, with God saying, "Oh, you think your enemies treat poor people bad? Well, you treat poor people worse than all of them put together." God refuses to sit idly by and watch the people who claim to follow after God's mission hurt others through economic injustice. In the book of Exodus, God lays out, through Moses, the overwhelming theme that characterizes the entire holiday of the Passover to this day, which is that God will always overcome the empires of man in order to save those whom the empire oppresses. God hears the suffering of us, the people, and God will take action, maybe even violent action, to save them. God refuses to allow governments to abuse others. And in the Gospels, we see Jesus walk into the temple and see the abuses that are taking place with vendors selling sacrificial offerings to the people in order to shortcut the way that people worship God. And Jesus fucks those people up in a fit of anger, maybe even violent anger. And he does that 2 separate times. Christ will not allow the religious leaders of Israel to pervert their religious law in order to benefit themselves. There is no such thing as taking shortcuts in our faith, nor is there such a thing as having our cake and eating it too. God refuses to sit idly by and watch us attempt to make our fame and fortune off the backs of others' faithfulness. These are just some stories among many others that all point to a simple idea. Justice and the correction of iniquity are essential to the law and the understanding of who God is and who God calls us to be as Christ followers. We are not able to participate in Christian expression or to call ourselves Christians and refuse to understand these realities. Justice is essential. Love for others is essential. But when this reality is shown to Christian nationalists, they typically try to backpedal on what Christianity is in the first place. They want to redefine Christianity as a conservative social order rather than as a religion focused on caring for the poor and the immigrant, which in reality, it is one of those things and it is not the other.
H-1B visas are for highly skilled workers who come to the U.S. legally. The number set by Congress for such visas annually is 65,000, with room for 20,000 more if they have graduate degrees from U.S. colleges. But nevertheless, that's a lot of Hindus. Remember that these are skilled and ambitious people likely to rise to positions of influence and control. That means that when it comes to America retaining its distinct identity as a nation, they clearly represent a diluting agent.
This is why we saw such a vitriolic reaction to the Episcopalian bishop who pled for mercy on behalf of immigrants that she felt were going to be unjustly targeted.
And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here.
Was this out of line with Christianity? Was this a politically motivated mischaracterization of what Jesus taught? No. It was boilerplate fucking Christianity. It was not a unique progressive opinion. It is the standard one.
But she went into some political, radical leftist. Right. I don't know that church. I don't know the structure. But whoever is in command should have a look at this.
Well,
this is not biblical doctrine that she's speaking from the pulpit.
Well, what denomination is this? Is it Episcopal?
I think Episcopalian, I think. Here's the thing. If she's going to be the bishop and she's going to lecture the president every time he goes to events like that, maybe it's time for the president and Washington in general to stop going to the National Cathedral.
I'm for that too.
Listen,
this is not about left-wing or right-wing politics. This is about religious evangelical movements in the U.S. becoming worshipers of politicians and political ideology over Christ. Any person that places the moral philosophy of their religion underneath the prowess of a political figurehead is, by definition, not actually following that moral philosophy. They are corrupt, and they are liars and subversions of what they claim to represent.
He is answering our prayers. He's put Trump into position. But not only that, but Vance, are you kidding me? This incredible vice president and as well as the cabinet members is like an all-star team, a dream team that you couldn't even figure out and make up. And so God's doing it. And so whoever fights them is really fighting God. And so they're going to win, slam dunk, be nominated. I'm confident of that. And we're going to have incredible revival and reformation as a result of that for 4 years and beyond.
We have seen, and hopefully will continue to see, the real Christians rise up to fight against the mislabeling of fascism as Christianity. I, for one, work at a church that has opted to make clear our stance about not cooperating with government investigations that target our congregation members unfairly. But the real standout voices are the ones that have so far remained silent. When the world has given the church such a clear and easy chance to stand up for what is right, we somehow seem to be watching so many remain complicit. These churches are not Christian churches. These churches are cuckolds for fascism, and we will be continuing to call them out as such. So this is where I find myself currently. I'm a pastor who truly believes that the message of Christianity is important to the well-being of others. And I know that might be a minority opinion on the internet, but it is my personal belief. So if I'm a pastor who believes what I preach fully, then that leads me to believe also that Christianity is facing an existential threat. And even worse, that threat, which is redefining Christian thought in America, is being used to transform Christianity from a religion of love for others, especially others that have less than I do, and instead refocusing it into a weapon of hate and discrimination. We as the church cannot allow religion to be co-opted by fascism. We cannot allow our religious principles and theologies to be twisted into white nationalistic ideology. We cannot allow Nazi sympathizers to become commonplace within our church membership. These are the goals that are incompatible with Christianity. I will not allow them to happen. I must, for the sake of my beliefs, fight back against them. And this is where I'm leaving off for this video. Not because I have nothing else to say, but because I'm honestly still trying to figure out how extreme Christian leadership should be in its response to this kind of threat. Do we have a strict adherence to Christ's mission that requires us to remain peaceful and malleable publicly? Do I need to make sure that I come at this from a calm and peaceful, optimistic place of criticism? Should I embody Christ's voice of love or Christ's voice of judgment first and foremost? Maybe it is time to buckle down and start reacting with more hostility. Maybe Christians need to start standing up and fighting back more openly. Maybe we need to start off with a willingness to actually fight against those that want to hurt others in the name of God. I haven't decided yet, but I will say this. I don't think Jesus would answer the door for ICE, not in this country. And for all the other challenges, I guess I'll let you know my thoughts soon enough. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe, stay proactive, love your neighbors, and stand up for those that need you.
They're remaking Indiana Jones without Harrison Ford. You can't do that.